Welcome to the Halloween edition of the Big Sports Lowdown. Hey y'all, what's happening? Here comes the intro. Woo-hoo! Happy Halloween! Holy lightning, it's Thursday again. It's 4 o'clock, and you know what that means? Well, it's not so dark and creepy in here now, although it is a little creepy because you got probably two of the ugliest mugs you could ever have on TV. Well, at least on the web anyway. Mark, my co-host, me, Big Low, you're watching the Big Sports Lowdown. And, holy lightning, there's a lot going on in the sports world. Hey, Mr. Wazoo Coug, how do you feel about not being able to tweet?
Oh, man. You know, Leach is, he's got
Leach,
that
he's
issue.
just that. He's a leech.
That's what, you know, I love the guy, but the guy is just, he's an
one of those guys
he's
that
an
you
interesting
love.
person.
You love to hate.
If you don't
Or
love,
dislike. Hate's a bad word.
exactly. If you don't love the team, you don't love him. But if you love the team, you love him. I'm still lukewarm on the guy, so we'll see. I mean, I liked the hire when it happened.
Yeah.
They're improving. They're getting
Okay,
better
we're
compared
talking
to Wolf.
about a guy here that calls out his team and says they're a bunch of pussies. I mean, basically, that's what he said in a nutshell. He comes out on live, just getting interviewed after interview after interview, and calling his boys a bunch of pussies.
Well, at least he didn't lock him in a tool shed this time. You know?
Oh man, that's a fact. Man, you know what a strange character. I'm kind of on the fence with this guy. I mean, I'm not just a dog. I'm a Coug too.
Exactly.
I love both our teams. I'm a Washington guy. I live here. I love Gonzaga. I love Eastern Washington. I love Western Washington. I love the guys up north, the guys down south. Whatever it is, it's part of Washington.
Exactly.
If you're part of Washington sports, I love you. You know, but I'm on the fence with Leach. One week I start to like the guy, and then all of a sudden he pulls some crap like this and says, "Okay, if any of my guys are caught on Twitter, you're suspended." Are you serious?
The way that guy works, you know, you gotta like him just for the quirkiness factor. I mean,
I guess so.
compared
That's
to
a good point.
compared to Paul Wolfgang Suck, I mean,
That dude
complete
was,
360. You know, I mean, excuse me, 180.
Wow.
360 would be, you know.
He was
but,
something special.
Yeah, Wolf was interesting. I always called him the Twinkie eating
Ow!
Ryan Leaf. He looked like Ryan Leaf after a Twinkie binge. You know what I mean? Like they had the same face and everything.
Oh, well,
So-
when Ryan Leaf put on all that weight, you know, they could have been twins. Separated at birth.
Well, Ryan Leaf.
Another Elton John story.
Ryan Leaf's on a 3 hots and a cot diet right now as we
man.
speak. So
That's a fact, huh? Have they sentenced him yet?
he is actually in Lewiston, Montana, in a Montana State drug rehab facility.
Really?
Yes, I've actually talked to him via Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah, he's living there right now for another few months.
I think that's good for him. I mean, he needs to shed the demons. I mean,
That's what it is. That's what it is.
When you've got a drug problem like that, back in the days when I was Mr. Pot Smoker and stuff, everybody told me I'd never quit smoking pot. Well, I got in a little bit of trouble. I always said if I ever get in trouble for smoking or
You clean
selling
it
or
up.
whatever, I'd clean up. I put it down cold turkey.
Exactly.
I wish I could do the same thing with food. I mean, you know, I have lost 250 pounds, but you know, there's still that urge that gets in you, and it's like, man, key lime pie, chocolate cake,
He'll be fighting that battle.
Rocky
the rest of his life.
Road.
He'll be fighting that battle the rest of his
Yeah,
life.
he definitely will. I mean,
But-
it's pills are a toughie.
Oh yeah.
You know, my doctor like prescribed me all these crazy pills for my shoulder pain, and And I still got to wait till February now because the whole leg infection thing, they put off my surgery again. It's just like, man, oh man, I just want the shoulder replacement done and over with.
Exactly.
But a guy like Ryan Leaf, who's battling some tremendous demons with this, you know, I feel bad for the guy, and at the same time, all the stuff that karma got back to him, all that crap that he did with the media back in the days, it really kicked Ryan Leaf in the butt.
Oh yeah, he's eaten a lot of crow. I mean, like I said, I've ran into him more than a few times. Actually, supposed to play golf with him next time I go to Montana.
Nice.
He is actually a very humble guy in person.
Oh yeah,
I've
met Ryan on several
occasions.
occasions.
He's a very nice
great guy. But I mean, it's just that karma.
Oh,
that karma gets you.
At least though he admits his demons. I mean,
Speaking
he
of
does
karma,
admit it.
Speaking of karma, live strong or die. Man, Lance Armstrong, another guy I don't know how to feel about. He did so many wonderful things with his Live Strong Foundation, so many wonderful things for people. Just the kids alone Lance turned from timid little guys to kids that are like riding bikes now, running, jogging, swimming. He's done so many things with his Live Strong Foundation and built that thing so incredible. I used to wear the little yellow wristbands till I got my watch. And, I mean, I supported it. I must have bought probably at least 100 of those darn little yellow bands throughout my career because they kept snapping. I mean, they weren't big enough for my big old fat wrist. But a guy like Lance Armstrong, stripped of these 7 titles, he has to pay a bunch of money back, and now possibly getting the medals stripped from the Olympics.
It's gonna with that guy. It's coming back to. I mean, that whole sport is dirty. If you want to know the truth, I mean, cycling. They pop a guy every year at least.
Yeah.
It seems like at least one a year. Most years is like 2 or 3.
Right.
They're popping for roiding.
They call it the right name, doping. I mean, you're a dope if you're doing something that's stupid.
Exactly.
Major League Baseball went through the whole doping issue. Every sport does. With baseball, I was one of those guys that was looking at it as you still got to be able to hit a ball.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way.
I don't care if you're all jacked up on roids and pumping 22-inch biceps or not. You still got to have hand-eye coordination and hit a ball.
That's what it goes back to. Is a lot of people say Barry Bonds doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, but the guy was a 500 guy before he started roiding. I mean, he had Hall of Fame numbers before.
Right.
You still got to hit a baseball.
Oh yeah.
He still was probably the greatest player of this era. I mean, since Babe Ruth, literally. Since Babe Ruth, there has not been a player as good as Barry Bonds.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, yeah. I like the guy still. I always have liked Barry. I mean, he's a surly jerk, but the guy did things that I never have seen before on a baseball field.
You hit the nail on the head with surly jerk. I'll never forget the time we were waiting down by the Kingdom, waiting for autographs. God, our guest might have been there with me one time when we were waiting on him, but he comes walking up and is like, Barry, hey man, how do you like Seattle? He's like, I hate it. I was like, whoa, really? How can you hate Seattle? Are you serious?
That's him on a nice day, probably.
Oh man,
that's him being polite.
He did sign autographs though.
Really?
He actually signed quite a few autographs, and I mean, I was one of those lucky dogs that got Barry a couple times.
Nice.
I got Barry's 40th home run from 2001.
Wow.
Yeah, courtesy of one of our groundskeepers.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
he got the home run because it went out in the center field.
That was the one.
Went out
Did he
in
hit it
the
off
hole.
a putt? Was that the one he hit off a putts in like the? I
God.
think it was the 9th inning of a late. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
Did we have puts in 2001?
Was it 2000? Yeah, I think was it the year? It was the year he broke the record.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. God, JJ's been around that long, huh?
I believe so.
Holy crap. I'm going to have to investigate this. Well, on the issue of Barry Bonds, let's talk about his San Francisco Giants. Wow. Can you believe that game?
Kung Fu fighting, baby.
Holy
Kung Fu
smokes.
fighting.
Sandoval. 3 jacks?
Reggie Jackson, Babe Ruth,
Oh.
Albert
now-
Pujols, Pablo Sandoval.
Woo!
Which of those names does not belong? Literally.
Well, let's see. I'm not quite sure yet.
Oh
but,
wow! Unbelievable.
Sandoval, man.
Unbelievable. Great
Third
first-
baseman, playing great at third, and then now comes up and boom, boom, boom.
Unbelievable first game of World Series. I mean, the only 2 that have ever hit home runs in the first 2 at bats of one World Series were Gene Tetis in,
Jeez.
I think it was 1972
I was gonna
against
say.
the Reds, and
Wow.
it was Andrew Jones in '96 against the Yankees. Those were
Andrew Jones.
only thing was those were their first 2 World Series at bats career-wise. So, but Sandoval,
man.
unbelievable.
That was quite a
Unbelievable.
game last
Mr.
night.
October Part 2.
Boy, well, what about that young little pitcher, huh? Everybody always whining and saying how bad he is and all this stuff, and saying that he's done. And whew.
Lincecum looked great, and you know who impressed the hell out of me was Barry Zito.
Yeah.
I could not believe. I mean, I had to
Barry's
look it
looking
up.
pretty sharp right
I had to look it up just to make sure. He won the Cy Young, I believe, in 2002. It was.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been 10 years since he's been an upper echelon player.
Yep.
I mean, he basically got lost. He was left off their roster the last time they were in the postseason. So that's a pretty cool story to
man.
see. That's a pretty cool story to see. He's a good guy, actually. Zito is. I mean, the guy keeps a teddy bear with him all the time. I mean, how bad can he be?
That's
you know?
awfully attractive, some of them women out there.
Oh, his wife is pretty good looking. So yeah.
Oh God, I don't remember what it was. My nephew Stefan posted this little picture on Facebook a little while ago. It's hilarious. It's all these women putting their gloms on RG3, and the one right on his chest is like there's this big ass wedding ring on the finger. It's like, man,
Sorry,
some of them
girls,
married
he's
women I
taken.
wonder about. You know, would she or wouldn't she? Hell yeah, she would. That's RG3.
Did you see that game? Did you see any of it?
I did see that game.
God, Sunday Ticket for me was a godsend just because I got to see that giant Redskin game last
I like
week.
the red zone.
Oh, that game was. Oh, I watched the whole. I couldn't
man.
turn it off. I was just this game was so. The final 2 minutes were unbelievable.
Oh,
That
yeah.
touchdown to Victor Cruz.
Oh
Salsa,
heck yeah, man.
Unbelievable game.
Eli, he's got something special about him. I mean, that kid, he's got, Jesus, so many fourth quarter comebacks, and he couldn't do it against the Seahawks though.
Nope.
Yes,
Charlie Whitehurst. Victor
Oh,
Cruz. Victor
Charlie.
Cruz, though, I swear he has to be the best receiver I've seen since Jerry Rice. A lot of people say
Pretty
Calvin
incredible.
Johnson's
Very
great.
talented.
A lot of people say Larry Fitzgerald's great. This guy has speed. He runs great routes, and he's smart. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy is like Jerry Rice didn't have the speed Victor Cruz does. This guy is
I have to agree.
unbelievable. I mean, I've been watching him since. God, I picked him up on my fantasy team last year, the week before the Seahawks game, and I was
Right.
like, this Victor Cruz guy looks like he's gonna pop. Ever since then, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a
Me, I
monster
picked
game
up Jordy
against us.
Nelson. Jordy Nelson saved my season last year. I
Jordy
picked up him,
Nelson's
Marshawn Lynch, and the
unbelievable,
Seahawks defense in like week 8. And man, oh man, I finished the season at 8-8. Ended up winning the whole thing. It's just like,
Nice.
you got to be kidding me. It
You know
was
the-
just a weird year in fantasy football last
The thing
year.
about Jordy Nelson though is he came out of nowhere. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
That's ever since that Super Bowl, he's been a great ball player.
Sure
He's been tearing it up.
Heck yeah.
I mean, I'd seen him before, but in that Super Bowl game, I'm like, this Jordy Nelson guy, he can play, man. He's gonna be.
Well, we'll talk more about Seahawks later. On the subject of wide receivers, I should say, because
Oof,
Baldwin
ouch.
is out on Sunday. Are you kidding me? We got to
Ouch.
go up against a tough Detroit Lions defense. I think half the players on that team used to play for the Seahawks. They got, let's see, Lawrence Jackson. They got, is Robbie Sims still there?
I do not know.
I'm not sure if
I do
Sims is
not
still
know.
there, but they have, let's see, Will Heller. They've got, they don't have
got
Momo
Nate
anymore. They got
Burleson.
Nate Burleson. I mean, last year it was just like 8 or 9 guys from the Seahawks were playing on that
Seahawks
team.
East, yeah.
And I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to the Lions this year until this week because we got a big game coming up on Sunday.
Hey,
so.
well, if Russell Wilson doesn't look good, last year Matt Flynn went for 480 and
Did he really?
6 touchdowns against Detroit in the closing game of the
If.
year. So
If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
That's
Russell
true.
Wilson's going to do just fine, Mr.
we hope so. We hope
Mr.
so.
Flynn. Here he goes again.
You know what?
On
You know
the
what?
Flynn tirade.
You know what? I love Russell Wilson. I cannot fault him at all. That was
He had a tremendous passing game.
pathetic receiving.
If our receivers would
yes,
caught the ball.
exactly.
Man.
He looked great. He
Oh,
looked great.
that just the one catch, Robert Turbin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if Turbin would have caught that ball, man, that was definite 6. Had to have been.
That's how close we are, though. I mean,
Oh.
that is how
It's a
that is
great
the margin.
football team. Yeah.
Yes, that is the margin. The Niners, truthfully, I mean, I think they are probably like one of the top 2 teams in the NFC. That is how
Agreed.
it's a razor thin margin. If we got any receivers to make plays in that game, we win.
Oh yeah, definitely. Wait till they come here on December 23rd. They're gonna get their butts lambasted. I swear. That game, I want to see us win by 30 points because all my little San Francisco 49er buddies out there were just all week long. Oh, you guys choke. Come on, choke. Have you guys been in every game? Nope. So we'll get to the football thing in a little bit. Right now, we got to take a quick little, interlude and bring on our guest. Our guest for today is a pretty incredible dude. He's been around that Mariners locker room for a lot of years. So check out this little clip of Big Low, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it. It's just like it's Big Low, Big Low, Big Low, Big Low, Big Low. Check it out.
Big Low.
Hey everybody, this is Gabriel Hebro.
Hey, this is Gary Payton.
Hello, this is Detlef Schrempf.
This is Duff McKagan.
This is Marcus Trufant of the Seattle Seahawks.
This is Randy Myers, one of the original Nasty Boys.
Hi, Alan West from Yes.
Hey, here we are, Captain Keith, man.
This is Gus Liam.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm Jolie. And I'm Amanda. And we're the Washington Jaegerets.
Jesse Jones.
Hey, this is Brent Berry.
Hi, I'm Tessa. And I'm Bianca.
This is Dan Overmonte.
Hi, this is Golden Tate with the Seattle Seahawks.
This is Steve Hauschka. Hey, this is Max Unger with the Seahawks.
Hi, we're the Jaegerettes.
Hey everybody, it's Norris Frederick, your Olympic hopeful for 2012.
Hey, this is Dane Looker. I'm Bryce Fisher. Isaiah Thomas, Clay Thompson, Max Strong. Slick Watts. It's your boy, Big Play Babs.
This is Harrison Bevins.
This is Brandon Hempelman.
Hey, this is Sue Bird.
Hi, I'm Cam Warner, Seattle Miss. I'm Jessica. And I'm Laura.
And guess what you tuned into?
You watching
Seattle Sports Lowdown, my man. Big Low. Big Low. Big Low. Big Low. Big Low.
Big Low.
Big Low.
Big Low.
Big Low. Big Low.
Seattle Sports Lowdown with Big Low.
With Big Low.
With Big Low.
Big Low.
With Big Low.
Big Low.
Big Low. With Big Low.
With Big Low.
Big Low. With Big Low.
With Big Low.
With Big Low. Woo!
With Big Low. Got it. Peace.
Peace. God, I love that. Oh, it's something else. Something else. Something else. So, we're back in studio today. Chef Jeremy of the Seattle Mariners, Jeremy Bryant. I've known the guy for years. Used to sit down there with me in the old Kingdom days, waiting for autographs, waiting for those Cal Ripkins and those Ken Griffey Jr.'s and those Robbie Alomars. Don't spit on me. Oh, man. Jeremy.
Those were the good old days.
Oh, God.
That's when you were not so Big Low and I wasn't so Big J either. But
yeah, no doubt, huh?
Yeah, we were a little bit skinnier back
all
then.
that good food. Man, if you got sick of the Big Lows and the Big Low there, a couple seconds ago, there's 2 people that I just really dig in that whole excerpt. It's amazing. Little Madison, the little girl, she's so cute. Big Low. And then the drunken Captain Keith Colburn. From the Deadliest Catch. He's the crab wizard.
Oh, yeah.
I love that guy to death. He is one of the most incredible dudes. He actually sent me a direct message on Twitter the other day, said, Big Low, whenever you want me in studio, as soon as I get back from crabbing, I'm coming on. So that'll be a really special guest to have in studio here. So, but this guest that I got with me today, he's hell-bent on getting Mr. Perfect in here, so hopefully somehow, some way, Jeremy can pull a couple strings and get Felix Hernandez in here on the show, and boy, we'd have fun with him. Jeremy, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. That would be so cool. Maybe I'll just tell Felix I'm gonna make him lunch. We'll have it all set up here.
Heck yeah, I'm down with that. Oh man, so are you still nervous?
Oh no, not at all. No,
see,
everything's cool.
Once everything starts flowing, it's just it's just like a couple guys talking.
It's a couple guys talking. I know it's just all Mariner fan love out there.
Oh man, there's a lot of people right now. They the last couple games of the season, I missed a few games because of the whole hospital issue.
Right.
And so I did get to go to the last 3 games, and I was really jacked about that. And I'm tweeting all this Mariner stuff. And I get lambasted on Twitter. How can you support the Mariners when they're doing what they're doing to the Sonics arena issue?
Oh,
it's like, come on, give me a break. I mean, the arena issue's gonna take its course.
Right.
Yes, we all want the Sonics back. We want the Sonics back very, very badly.
Right.
I'm a dude that definitely wants the Sonics back because I want to put the new tattoo logo right here where the rest in peace concrete headstones just, it wants a new logo. It wants it bad.
Oh,
But,
man, it does.
you know, I mean, people are just jumping my stuff about being at a Mariners game. I'm going to support our teams no matter what. If we're winning, losing,
Yeah.
if we're chastising another team, I mean, this is what it's all about. And you're
really
one of
is.
those guys that gets the inside. You
I
get to
know.
see some of the coolest stuff.
I know. I wish I could just show you some of the cool videos on my phone. Just from the day when Felix threw the
You
perfect
can.
game. I'll show you.
Okay, here's
we'll
what
do
we're
it
going to
later.
do. We're going to have Jeremy come in one of these days, and we're going to put a bunch of these pieces together. We'll edit it all together,
Yeah.
and just show you some cool stuff.
Yeah, it's just behind the scenes, you know. So we get to see.
You get to see
I get to see what's
the
happening.
dirt.
Yeah. So when the whole team, you know, when the team is doing the champagne celebration all over
God,
Felix,
man.
I mean, it's just so cool.
That
It's
must have been awesome.
It's such a. What the best part is, imagine being the biggest fan ever, just like Big Low. Imagine if he had an all-access badge and could go everywhere in the stadium. I've been up and
George
I've got to sit
Carl.
with Chuck.
Here,
I sit in the
I used
outfield.
to get to do that.
Yeah, that's how it is. I walk out. It was so funny. I've been caught. You know, my boss started calling me, "Where's Waldo?" Because I would come in early, I get the food ready, and then when the game's going, you know, I'm sitting right behind the dugout or something. And one time I didn't know, but I was on TV. And he says to me, well, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, where you at?" I'm like, "Oh man, I had to go to Costco. I burned the chicken." And he goes, "Bull crap, man! You're on TV right now, behind home plate, dude. Get back in the kitchen." You know, I'm just such a big fan, and I love baseball. I love the Mariners more than anything, and it's the coolest job in the
Tell
world.
us a little story, because I got to take this phone call real quick.
Okay.
Oh, nope, it's already gone.
Was it intimidating at first being around? all
Oh,
the
you guys
players?
have no idea. Okay, imagine we're coming off a 95. You know,
I'm doing my show
you
right
got
now.
you got Edgar, you got Buhner, Griffey's still there,
Tomorrow morning. A-Rod's
and
coming up.
A-Rod, yeah, A-Rod's there.
Yeah.
Man, I get the job. And that's a whole nother. That's a long story, but I get my very first day. I get there real early because I'm nervous.
Yeah. Okay.
Edgar Martinez walks in and asks me to make him something, man, and I almost just couldn't even handle it. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Hi, I'm Edgar," and I was just like, "Wow, I gotta make Edgar a sandwich." Like it was just like a tuna sandwich, like bread and tuna, like really hard. And I'm like, you know, I made it all perfect, and I gave it to him, and then I shut the door to the kitchen. So if he didn't like it, I didn't want him to be mad at me. I mean, it took a few homestands for me to even get used to.
Into the flow.
Just, you know, Jay Buhner walks up to you and is like, "Hey, man, let me get a grilled cheese sandwich." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, whoa, man, that's just wild. You know, because I was the crazy fan long before I had the badge, you know, so.
Yeah.
But eventually you get used to it. And now I've become friends with Jay, and I do a lot of special catering for him and stuff, and we laugh about that stuff all the time. And still, you know, you go down there, and there's days where I'm just like, "Man, Felix just sent me a text," you know, like. Well, a funny thing is, and no offense to his wife's cooking or anything, but I got to put this out there. It's kind of funny. Felix's wife she always makes him breakfast, and this is a true story. It's kind of funny. Felix came in that day. His wife left out of town. I don't know if you guys remember, but his wife was in Venezuela.
I remember that, yeah.
He came in and he's like, "Oh man, my wife's not here. You know, you gotta do breakfast for me." So I just made him like we call it the Felix McMuffin, and it was literally just like a buttered English muffin. It had sausage, ham, little cheese, little egg. I mean, it's pretty big, but it's nothing really spectacular. But I made it for him, and I looked at my buddy Jeff Bopper, the ultimate coog, who was in my kitchen with me. I was like, "You know, Felix is gonna throw a perfect game." Or no, I just said a no-hitter. I said, "You know, he's throwing a no-hitter today." You know, just kind of joking around. And then, of course, it happens, and I'm like, "I told you, it was that breakfast, baby." You know.
Of course it happens
Yeah.
when I've got tickets on the dugout, front row.
That's how it always
And that
happens.
morning, my leg just decides to blow out the back, and
Oh, geez.
blood starts oozing down my leg, and I got to
Man,
go
I
check
can't believe
into
you
the
still didn't go to the
hospital.
game, man.
Oh man,
No, I'm just
come
kidding.
on now.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
No, I'm totally kidding.
You know,
Yeah.
it was a rough situation. I had
No.
to get emergency surgery that day. It's
Oh,
like,
that's-
I got to
that's
watch the
horrible.
game because it was an
Good.
early game, and so I
Yeah.
got to watch the game. And all of a sudden they come in like the 8th inning. We're gonna wheel you down. I'm like, "Oh no, you're not. Oh no, you are not." And so they said, okay, we'll come back in a little bit.
Right.
So they came back in a little bit after I'm just screaming and hollering, whoa!
Man.
But man, what
you
a
talk
hell of a
about
way
like
to spend a perfect game.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just a regular game. It's going on, you know, and the clubbies, you know, we're back there doing our thing because we're working during the game. I'm getting dinner ready, and we're like looking at it. No one wants to say it, like,
Oh, yeah.
no hitter, right?
You can't jinx it. No way.
Yeah, and we're all doing the same thing, like the players out there, and you know, it's like the 8th inning, and I'm like, oh, man, do I even keep cooking? Because no one's gonna eat my food. Everyone's gonna be partying and celebrating, and it was just, I was just shaking like the whole time, and. Man, when he got that, it was, you know, everyone, we were just crying. And then it actually took Felix, he did so many interviews and stuff, it took him over an hour to come into the dugout.
Wow.
And every single player waited for him. You know, players are known to, after the game, they want to get home, man. They want to get with their families. But everybody waited for him, and everyone had a little celebration in the clubhouse. And
that's so awesome.
It was amazing. I was so
to be
glad
a
that
part
I was
of
there.
that, you know.
Yeah, because I was also there for the perfect game earlier in the year when we were on the wrong end of that one.
Philip Humbert?
Yeah. So,
oh, man.
How does a guy like you get into that job? Did you go to chef school?
Yeah, so I went to chef school, graduated South Seattle Community College, and you got to be an idiot fan, of course. And the long story short, man, I was hanging with Big Loeb down at the Kingdom trying to get autographs. I mean,
let me interrupt you real quick, because the funny part of this is my co-host Mark asking him the question. Okay, my co-host Mark, who apparently has never been to www.bigsportslowdown.com and watched the interview with Chef Jeremy. Are you serious? You're asking him now?
Oh, no.
You could have watched this and known all this.
Yeah.
But it is a great story.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a great story.
Proceed, Mr. Jeremy.
The quick story is,
Had to ask him again.
I had a great friend, Rodney Lane. He had a cousin, Michael Spears, who worked in the clubhouse. And
Jam.
We got it all we got it all set up to where I was going to go get to meet the players. And this is 1996. And I just wanted to literally just wave to him. I wanted to get close to him. I didn't even care about meeting him. And then it turns out we couldn't get in. And then a good friend of mine who was just a little kid, his name was Christian Hill.
Wow.
He became a bat boy.
Yeah.
And Christian's like, hey, man, you want to come in? And he opens the door. I get in. You know, Edgar tries to steal third base. I'm in the locker room. I'm watching it on TV.
Wheels.
He gets tagged out, and then he walks over, and he's like, hi, I'm Edgar. And I'm just like, I just about fainted. I'm like, I'm in the locker room sitting next to Edgar during the game. And then eventually security was like, who are you? How'd you get in here? And then as I'm getting thrown out, I gave him my business card. Said, hey, man, I'm a chef. I cook for all these famous people. I just want to cook for the Mariners. And the guy, he kicked me. He's like, yeah, whatever, buddy. And he just, long story short, I just kept going down. Once I knew, I was like, I saw the food they had, and I felt like I could do a better job. I was like, just give me a shot. I'll do it for free. I was like, I will pay you if I could cook dinner for these guys. That's exactly what I did. So the first dinner at the Kingdom, it was like the last day of the season. And he's like, all right, you want to cook dinner so bad? And so I went and maxed out my credit card, and I put this amazing spread together. Rodney helped me, and we and the guy said, hey, when they open Safeco Field, maybe I'll give you a call. And like 2 days before they opened Safeco, he's like, hey, I still need a cook. You want to try out? You know, so he gave me the first homestand, and you know, I'm still there. So
and you got this little tiny kitchen because we got the privilege of coming down and sitting down with you there and interviewing you.
Yes.
Check out on the website, bigsportslowdown.com. Got a great interview on there with Jeremy. Tell some really good stories about the itchy wings and man, I mean, there's so many cool things that Jeremy has had the honor and privilege of doing. So.
Oh man, it's crazy. Like you guys, I mean, I'm just a big Seattle fan. I love all their sports.
Right.
I love Pearl Jam more just because they're from Seattle. I mean, I grew up a breakdancer, to try to be anyway.
Oh yeah,
but
Emerald City Breakers, man.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting there playing, you know, I'm playing this song, Jeremy Spoken, right? And then Eddie Vedder walks in my kitchen, man. I'm like, how cool is that? I'm just like hanging with Eddie Vedder. You know, I mean, I guess I took a picture with him. I wasn't hanging with him, but I'm just saying, like, just the Mariner job alone, you're meeting so many cool people.
Oh yeah.
The Mariners are friends with super famous people. I mean, we've had Larry the Cable Guy, you know.
Oh, man. He's awesome.
You know, a lot of people didn't know that Ichiro is a huge Snoop Dogg fan.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
So,
I got his first autograph from Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. So Snoop Dogg is playing across the street at the Showbox.
Right.
And somebody's like, hey, Snoop Dogg's over there. So I just walk over. I show my badge. I have no ticket at all. I'm like, hey, man, I'm with the Mariners. Ichiro would love to meet Snoop, and they're like, oh, come right this way. Like, I mean, that could have been a fake badge. The guys at the Showbox are awesome. Within 2 minutes, I was backstage with Snoop Dogg. I'm on stage as he starts his concert, and I'm just like partying with Snoop Dogg the whole
Snoop
time.
Dogg was smoking grass today.
Yeah. So I take all these pictures with him. I go back to show Ichiro, and Ichiro just assumes, because that's not a big deal to him, that me and Snoop Dogg are friends, right? Oh, you know Snoopy, and so that's what he said. So I'm going back and forth, bringing these guys each other autographs, and it was just the funniest deal. It's a long story, but just cool things have happened since I've been there. I mean, I met so many fun people, and I love doing it.
Funny story.
Oh gosh, Norm Charlton. Norm Charlton calls me up. Hey man, I got dinner tonight. Don't worry about it. I've been hunting all day, and I'm like, oh great, So Norm, he shows up and he's in full camo. This is about.
Brings in raccoon.
I guess it was pheasant or grouse or some kind of a bird.
Probably grouse.
Yeah, and he's like, man, I got all these birds, man. They're gonna be awesome. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm like, man, Norm, when I go to Costco or whatever, dude, there's no pellets and there's no feathers and blood and everything. And he's like, oh, I can fix that for you. And he just starts defeathering these birds right in my kitchen. And so I'm like, dude, this is health code violation, like big time.
Oh yeah.
So we got to scoot it on out into the hallway back, behind the back area. Anyway, so we go through the whole motions. Hopefully Norm's not watching this, because I actually just served the Costco chicken because I was so afraid that what if the players choke on a pellet or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I'm the one who's going to be on the news with looking for a job. So anyway, we went through dinner, and Norm's walking around going, hey, how you guys like that bird? And everyone is like, oh, this is great, Norm. He had no idea I couldn't serve his, but anyway, the funny part was the security guys are coming through the hallway, and they see this bloody murder scene with feathers everywhere, and they're like, oh man, a raccoon got a cat or something in the back of it, and they had no idea. I just shut the door, like they didn't know that it was actually Norm Charlton making dinner for the team. There's just stuff like that happens.
Mark McLemore, one of my faves. Any funny stories with Mark?
Mark McLemore. He loved old-fashioned donuts. That was his, those guys are superstitious. And I wasn't really hip to the superstitious thing, I'm like, and he's like, hey man, you've had old-fashioned donuts like every breakfast, and now you have maple bars. What's going on? So I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'll be right back. And I ran my big old self all the way down the hallway, ran all the way across the street to where the Silver Cloud is now. It used to be a gas station.
Yeah.
I bought him an old-fashioned donut, ran it all the way back, and he was like, then he went, 3 for 4 or whatever, and he's like, see, at the end of the game, he's like, I told you I need that donut.
That's funny.
There's tons of stories like that where the players would literally think that, or they make me feel like, hey man, that cheese was great, man, or whatever.
Wade Boggs and chicken. Didn't he have to eat like?
Oh, he had to have chicken
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, another great story. Raul Ibanez.
Right.
He, Lou Piniella didn't play his rookies too much, and so Raul's hanging with me in the kitchen. He's thinking he got the day off. Lou walks all the way back to the kitchen. He's like, "You better get ready." Then Raul hit the first grand slam at Safeco Field, and not even thinking he was like helping me cook. Like right before that.
That's Raul.
And that's why I was so happy to see Raul. Raul was the best guy on the planet.
Awesome.
You see that what he did?
Amazing what he did with the Yankees this year.
Yeah. I mean, there was days when Griffey was in the kitchen with me. And how cool is that? I'm trying to act like I'm cool. Geez. I'm like, oh, it's just Griffey. But I'm like, Ken Griffey Jr. is cooking with me. So,
let's see here. We got a little chat room information.
Okay.
Tim Bell. Mariners going after a big bat or solid DH in the offseason for the shorter left field wall. You know any inside info on that kind of stuff, Jeremy?
You know what's so funny? I called down there today to see if I could get any scoop for you guys, but
no scoop?
There's no scoop yet. Damn. But I do know Jack Z has been working around the clock.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, those guys, they're saying
he's one guy that...
First one in, last one out.
People just don't give a whole lot of respect to.
Oh, man, that guy is awesome.
His hands are tied.
Yeah.
I mean, ownership is the rider of the ship. They're the ones that make the thing go the way they want it to.
Right.
And poor Jack, I mean, he's done what I think good with what he's been able to do.
Oh, yeah.
But if they were just to open up the wallet just a little bit for Jack Z, Jack Z would just do some cool stuff.
Oh, man. Wouldn't that Josh Hamilton in there with Felix pitching? Oh, man, something like that.
Man. So, Tim, we tried to get a little inside info for you. We don't have it yet. But I guarantee when it comes, you're going to get that info.
Yes.
Oh, man. Jeremy, you do catering besides the Mariners.
Right.
How do people, if somebody wants the chef of the Mariners to cook for their wedding, cook for their bar mitzvah, cook for their kid's birthday. Hell, I'll even come.
Big Low will be there.
Big Low to make an appearance with him?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I'm there.
Well, you just go to RainCityCatering.com.
Okay.
And you could get my personal email there. It's chefjerem@RainCityCatering.com. And we do everything. We just did a wedding last week. We did a comedy show the week before.
Awesome.
We're doing big stuff. We're doing the Marcus Trufant bowling tournament.
Well, that's one thing that we actually get to do every year together.
Yeah.
I get to work front door security, and you get to do all the cooking, and I go home with a big old plate of Jeremy food.
I sneak him a big plate every time.
Sneak? You're the man.
Wow. I know. But, yeah, I mean, we do. It's kind of funny because I've had players who didn't even know that I had a catering business because they just see me down there. I'm just the guy who cooks their food, and there's like, man, you should start a catering business. And I'm like, do you even know I catered a wedding tonight? Also, besides the game, you know. But the cool part is the guys have all stuck with me. John Olerud, still, I cater for him sometimes.
That's great.
Buhner all the time, which is great, you know. And
Wow.
that's real special to me too. That the guys keep it all in the family here.
Oh,
That's one thing about Seattle that you don't see in like a city like Los Angeles or New York. I mean, people stick around and they kind of like, if you take care of them, they'll take care of you and they'll stay around.
It's beautiful here. I mean, you can't get a finer city than Seattle. I mean, I've said this before. Within 90 minutes, you're up in the hills. You're in God's great beauty. Within an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, you're at the ocean.
Yeah,
and you're watching the most beautiful sunsets in the world.
You guys won't believe how many players have like Eric Bedard, for instance. He got a bad rap. If you got to know Eric Bedard, the guy was awesome.
Great guy.
He did not want to come to Seattle. You could see it in his first opening interview when they announced him he was going to be the opening day pitcher. He was just like, whatever. But after a couple of months here, man, that dude loved it here, and he wanted to stay. And you know it. You know, he's a hunter, and guys like to do that kind of stuff. Once they get to know Seattle, it's interesting how many players will get to the Seattle team and they will never leave downtown Seattle. They don't know about. They won't even cross the bridge. You know.
Oh man.
Yeah, A-Rod, when they were doing his free agent tour before he went to Texas, they took him to Snoqualmie Ridge, and that was the what was it? Lincoln took him there, and it was the first time he'd ever been that far east from downtown.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
It's
crazy. Some of these guys, there's been guys like Owen Schmidt played for the Seahawks. I told him, hey, you know, come jeeping with me and my pa. I mean, he's got this badass Jeep, and he hasn't even gone off-road with the damn thing. It's like, dude, are you serious? You're Mr. West Virginia outdoorsman.
Oh, man. When Beltray first came here, I was so excited to show him, you know, Lake Washington. He was like, I don't know how to swim very good. And I'm like, dude, buy a house on the lake, man. You know. There's so many beautiful places here, and man, I'm a Seattle person to the heart.
Small town atmosphere, but it's a big city.
It really
Makes
is.
it cool.
Yeah, Felix loves it here, man.
Well, we're glad he does because we want him here throughout the duration of his career because that is one special man.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, Jeremy, man, thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Hang out with us, just kind of, you know, chill in the background like Mark's doing right now. And if you want to pipe in on something, if anybody wants to talk with Jeremy, ask a question on the chat line, in the chat room, the number to call, 646-716-4481. If you want to talk Hawks, that's the segment coming up. We're going to be talking Hawks. So stay tuned. We're going to do a little switcheroo, and Zan's going to run a quick little, I'd say it's a cool little video. So check it out.
One tonight in Seattle, a prime-time showdown at CenturyLink Field. Number 1 San Jose in town to take on Zingy Smith and the Seattle Sounders.
It is a spectacular night for football, and it is Monday Night Football time in Seattle at CenturyLink Field. Does Golden Tate have it? He's in the end zone. He has! Oh my God, he's got it! Touchdown, Seahawks!
second time this week, CenturyLink Field is in the national spotlight, this time for college football. Drew Font with the interception inside the 10. Washington ends the misery against Stanford, beating the Cardinal tonight 17-13.
Hello there, football fans, and welcome to the big stadium down here on the Seattle waterfront, CenturyLink Stadium, the away from home of the Washington State University Cougars.
Pounds of hot dogs. That's a lot of dog in 8 days. Holy crap. That's more than that, what the heck's his name? Yakisobe, Kawasaki, what the heck is that dude?
Kobayashi.
Kobayashi, that dude, the hot dog eater guy. Holy crap, that's a lot of dog.
That's a lot of hot dogs.
That's a lot of Coke. 6,500 gallons of Coke?
How many kegs of beer was that?
God, I didn't see that one.
Well, the Cougs were there, so there had to be.
It had to been about 4,000.
That was double
just
whatever. Yeah, that would be double whatever, you know?
Wow.
The others were.
Well, before we get to a little Seahawks talk and my buddy Insider Steve, David Stern is retiring. Woo! Stepping down, quitting, whatever you want to call it. But I'm still a little leery because who's coming in for him?
Mr. Silver.
Not Steve Silver that's on the line, but Mr. Silver that's been David Stern's right-hand man. I don't even know if I want to do that motion or not, but his right-hand man for a long time. And who knows if it's going to make things better or things going to be the same.
I think Stern, I think the best thing that happened with Chris Hansen was they put a 5-year limit on that MOU.
Right.
Which means basically we're telling the NBA, you have to have us a team in 5 seasons.
Yeah.
I think personally, before Stern goes, he needs to right that wrong.
Well,
that's the stain. That is the stain on his legacy.
The only thing that David Stern can possibly do to make himself look like any kind of a man to the Seattle fans is to give us a team.
Exactly.
A lot of people are saying that they don't just want somebody else's team. I'm one of those guys that I don't want somebody else's team. I would love it so much if God just said, David, here's the deal. 1 team expansion. That's all you got to do. Have a supplemental draft and, give us a team. It would be amazing. And that would right the wrong.
I'm thinking if they do expansion.
Right?
Do-do.
Hey, do-do. David Stern, do-do.
It makes sense with David Stern, exactly. I think it's going to be Seattle and London. Yes, Marriott, England. I think
that's right, because they do have that big. I mean, it's a big following over there.
They've had a couple games over there. They've done very well. They do great for the National Football League. Yes.
When they had the lockout, I mean, there were several NBA players that were going to play over there. And
the biggest thing about expansion is they have to cut the TV money between the other teams. I mean,
that would be.
But you put a team in London, England. You're getting Sky Sports, Murdoch's channel.
Yep.
You possibly the BBC. You're getting a lot of these channels that are going to pick up the NBA. Wow. It's gonna basically balance.
That's a good point.
It will cut the revenue streams. I mean, if we put a team in Seattle, it's going to cut the revenue streams. Just one team.
Right.
Around the league. You put 2 teams like Seattle, $450 million. You could probably get $600 to $700 million for a London NBA franchise.
But they complain, bitch, and moan so much right now about the revenue factor, about how much money's coming in, how much money's going out, the travel. I mean, travel to London, that's pretty pricey.
The travel will be the hard part especially
factor in 30 teams.
Yes, especially
travel
for the Western teams like the Lakers, the Blazers, the Sonics. It's gonna be hard, but I think they'd basically make it.
God, I'm glad you said the Sonics. That just sounds.
Oh, you have to say it, man. You gotta think positively.
Yes, we do.
I think you put a team in London. I mean, you make it basically the West Coast teams playing East Coast swing, jet over to London, have a couple days off, jet back, and play like another, like maybe the Celtics or Knicks, then come home. You know, it's doable. I mean, it is doable if there's a team in London. But will the NBA actually like think like that? That's the question. I've been reading on like.
Do they ever think like that?
No, I've been reading on Yahoo though that they have been mentioning that, and from what Stern said today about, basically he said no comment, no comment, or we don't want to talk about it. They talked to Mark Cuban. He said something to the equivalent of, we haven't discussed expansion yet. None of them have actually said the word no.
That's true.
Which to me is a big,
and Mark Cuban, he's
deal.
one of those guys. I mean, he was a strong advocate. He voted no. And when the whole Oklahoma City move thing, him and Paul Allen were the only two no votes. And that says a lot. I mean, Cuban loved it up here. Cuban was one of those guys that actually gave me a lot of time of day. I mean, he was awesome. Coming to me the last time we played them, that last game in the Key Arena, he comes up and he's got my dang action figure. Him and Dirk Nowitzki. It's like, wow, are you serious? I mean, that's a gem in my eyes. I really, really respect Mark Cuban.
I think we'd have the votes to get an expansion team if Stern is willing to right that wrong,
I would be
which
so
I
happy
believe
about
so. Just because the fact they need to get a team in Seattle for the Pacific Rim. You know, this is the gateway to the Pacific. Literally, you want to grow the game in China. It's not Yao Ming, it's Seattle. I mean, we're the closest. You know, we're actually one of the most Asian cities in America. If you want to really touching the Pacific Rim,
I agree.
So you're gonna want a team in Seattle. But if you want to go for globalization, you look to London also because you got an expansion partner. There's 2 teams to go.
Right.
The only thing is, don't do what you did to the Grizzlies and Raptors when you get them into the league. Don't say, oh, you can't have the number 1 pick for 5 years and cripple them immediately. Yeah. Because I don't want to.
Well, they need something big.
Exactly.
I mean,
we don't want.
They've been struggling for a long time.
Exactly. We want a team, but we don't want to be screwed getting a team. We don't want to.
We don't want to screw other people getting a team.
Exactly.
As well, so.
We don't want to screw other people, and we don't want to be screwed ourselves in the fact that we don't want to be handcuffed to the fact that we can't get TV revenue and we can't get first overall draft picks. I mean, look at how long it's taken the Grizzlies to get even like mediocre. You know, the Raptors have been pretty much the Craptors for like how long they've existed.
I mean, they had their good Vince Carter years, so you know, I mean, they had some good years. Vince and Chris Bosh. I mean, you know, some highly touted talent.
Yeah, but
those guys were
never
great,
been like an elite team.
Right, exactly.
Which you expected Toronto. You know,
there's a lot of teams out there like that. I mean, you know, Seahawks are called one of those teams that have, you know, never been a highly talented team, and it's just, you know, here we are on the echelon, the verge of getting there. So, on that note, enough NBA talk. We got Steve on line 1, but we got a question out of the chat room. The extent of Baldwin's injury, why he may not be playing. Well, high ankle sprain. This is one of those injuries that just ticks me off to no end. It's one of those injuries that plagues a guy for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years. And, you know, we've seen it before with a bunch of different guys that have had that high ankle sprain, and heck, they never returned to the form that they were. Doug Baldwin, he's one of those fighters. I think he'll overcome it shortly. I'm praying that we don't lose him for 3-4 weeks. So
sprains are bad. I mean, you always think a break is bad, but a sprain a lot of times is worse because I mean, I've broken my leg before and I've walked on it all day broken. I've sprained my ankle and I was in bed for 2 or 3 days before I could even step on it. It's a tough injury to come back from.
So, on that note, we'll open up the line to Steve in Silver, Mr. Insider Steve. Steve, what's happening, bro?
Hey, Steve.
Hey, good afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I forgot this part. Why do I always forget this part? I can hear you now. Gosh, I can actually hear you pretty good.
Seriously, if I can count the shenanigans on one hand, that happens every single time I go on the air, I'd be a rich man, my friend.
Oh, I heard that, man. So, what's your take on this weekend? Big game coming up. Detroit Lions, early morning game. Seahawks don't always play well on the road, let alone on the road and early morning.
That is absolutely true, and I guess consider this an East Coast game, and this isn't just an epidemic that the Seahawks have gone through under Pete Carroll. I mean, the Seahawks have notoriously never been good travelers to the East Coast. But what's interesting about this is, after they came back to Carolina and won that game, they ended up running the record to 6-15 in the Pete Carroll era on the road. But I got to be honest with you, I think this matchup works incredibly well into Seattle's favor. Most notably on defense, and when you think about the Detroit Lions and just how one-dimensional they are on offense, let's consider the fact that the Lions don't necessarily have much of a running game, and because of that, the Seahawks can really really focus their attention into their passing game. They have good enough pass rushers where they could keep Matt Stafford off balance. And when you think of one-dimensional passing games, really, it's going to be Calvin Johnson or pretty much nothing. And when you think about the way Richard Sherman and Brandon Brown are able to really mix in their coverages on a guy like Calvin Johnson, I actually have a feeling that this is going to be a low-scoring affair on the side of the Detroit Lions. But,
Calvin Johnson, you mean Megatron?
Yeah.
Because he's now Megatron, and Richard Sherman is now Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know how I feel about those goofy nicknames, but it is what it is.
If it becomes a battle like the Transformers have had, I'm into it, The Legion of Boom may set some new standard.
Make him look like a GoBot.
Well, I've never really been one for nicknames, and I understand it.
Hey, now wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. Let's back up. Okay. Two nicknames that I got to point out to you. Big Low. Okay. Second nickname, Insider Steve.
Insider, yeah.
Okay. Not fond of nicknames. Come on, kid.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it.
You did not.
Seriously, come on now. I knew you were going to go there.
I love it.
As soon as I came off with the nicknames, I knew you were going to go there. But I will say this. Offensively speaking, the loss of Doug Baldwin this week is probably going to be crucial to the Seahawks passing game. It's bad enough that we don't necessarily see a lot of shallow crosses. We don't necessarily see a lot of in-the-field type of passing. You see a lot of go routes downfield. You see a lot of passes to the sidelines, a little bubble screens and some of those types of things. And when you think about the idea of Golden Tate going from the outside to the inside, and then maybe even seeing a little Charlie Martin, I would probably think you're going to see a lot of Marshawn Lynch this game.
Okay, well, my theory on this, they finally implemented Ben Obomanu into the game last Thursday. Mm-hmm. Ben Obomanu caught a couple balls that made differences. Mm-hmm. And so I see Ben Obomanu maybe moving over to that inside spot and taking that Doug Baldwin cross across. I mean, he's one of those guys that's great across the middle. So I'm hoping they implement him into the game a lot, and so we don't have to just rely on Marshawn. But I'm one of those guys that's totally ready for a Marshawn Lynch 160, 170-yard, 2-touchdown, 3-touchdown game. If
you run the ball with Lynch, then you're going to keep Sue off of Russell Wilson, which is a big deal.
Have to.
That to me is the key to winning the game. If Lynch goes for 100, we win big.
I tell you, if Ndamukong Suh freaking steps on Russell Wilson, I'm going to be stepping on that son of a gun. I'm going to have Nate Burleson knock him out.
To that point, I think you're going to see Ndamukong Suh be double teamed anyways.
Right.
I don't think you're going to allow a pass rusher, a disruptor to be one-on-one and be allowed to roam free in the backfield. But, to your point about Marshawn Lynch, I can conceivably see a type of game where you're going to see 23 to 27 carries from him.
Right.
It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility against that Lions defense to see about 115, 120 yards and a touchdown. One of those type of performances.
It's about what I'm thinking.
I can conceivably see a score right around 20. I want to say like 24-14.
I like it. So one of their deep threats is out. Nate Burleson isn't even playing this weekend. Yep. He's got a broken leg. So, but we got to wrap it up, Steve. We got to wrap it up, pal.
Absolutely,
Appreciate the call. We'll be talking to you next Thursday, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, don't think I didn't hear that Sly Cougar alcoholic reference at the beginning of the segment.
I'm glad you did, man. I'm glad you did.
Hey, that's our thing, man.
Hey, thanks for the call, Steve. We appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for the call, Steve.
Absolutely.
All right, have a good one, man. Go
Take
Hawks.
it easy, man.
Okay. Well, kind of pretty much wrap up time here, and it's one of those things where we got to do the thank yous. So basically, want to thank Jeremy. Jeremy, appreciate you coming in, man. Lots of more stories that we got to get out of you, man.
Exactly.
So as soon as we get to the new set, as soon as Sean Kemp comes in, I want to have you come in, maybe do a little cooking segment, get things done. Hey, just want to say thank you to Christian George and Noah out there at Jacknut Apparel. My buddy Rick Burgess at Coastline Signs. Thank you so much for printing up my new sign that's coming. ShockingGoat.com. Greatest watches around. Y'all got to check them out. Homer's Apparel. The Legion of Boom shirt. You got to get one. HomersApparel.com. Jeremy and the gang at Rain City Catering. Geeks Riot Apparel. Rod, Scotty, Cody, and Chantel at Dermafex Tattoo. I got my new Nux on. Seahawks. This is Big Low reminding you to have a sports fantastic day and happy Halloween. Thanks a bunch, Mark, for being here.
Thank you. Happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe.